Good morning, channel friends. Hello. What month are we in?
July.
And in which month will this video be released? I think August, next week. This is to say that the heat does not scare us, also because today we will use the heat gun, my fantastic heat gun that will help me remove this top plastic coat. This is a piece of furniture that Claudio, a very dear friend of my husband Stefano, has asked me to restyle. Some of you may have already seen him in some live or tutorials, and he has given me specific instructions. You know I am not used to following specific instructions. In fact, I always say that I will only make the furniture if they let me do it my way. However, I care about Claudio. We have known each other for many years, so I want to try to follow his requests. Maybe we can get creative with the drawings. Let's see. I may not stick to it until the end. We will suffer the heat today because starting to strip the upper surface with a heat gun in July is not a smart move, but it has to be done. I will teach you all the little tricks. Shall we start? Let's start. When there are finishes of this type, industrial, laminated, because this is not paint, so the paint stripper removes the paints, also because our paint stripper, as you know, is natural and biodegradable, these are industrial finishes that laminate the surface. I'll make it very simple for you. There are no products that can remove this type of plastic coating. You would have to sand it, but you know that I am completely against sanding for a long time because the components, once they become dust, are still inhaled and breathed in. For me, it is very dangerous for health, and even if you wear a mask, it is not guaranteed to work because you would need a specific mask for this type of job. So, we use our heat gun. We obviously do not go too close to the surface. We do not expose ourselves to the heat of the heat gun. Therefore, we work with a spatula, geppetto, and the heat gun, and we heat the surface just enough to peel off the first layer. You will see that it is very thin, it's a piece of cake, but you need to be careful about one main thing: you must not burn the finish. Now my heat gun is super cool and can reach up to 800 degrees. I don't recommend it. Set your heat gun to a maximum of 250 to 300 degrees Celsius. That's more than enough, and you risk much less burning and creating darker spots on the surface. Also because we want to take the wood outside and enjoy it, okay? So you help me dust it off and we'll start. You see, when it's time, bubbles start to form on the surface. These bubbles start to create an opening on the surface. I have to be good and careful not to burn the underlying wood for any reason, because I want to enjoy and pamper it a bit. When I looked at this piece of furniture, I thought it was nice, but I don't like the design on the doors. It was used years ago and it almost looks like fire, right? For us, it is impractical, especially when it comes to do a makeover with a decoration. Let's remove it. However, Emma and I know that sometimes these carvings, no, they are not carvings, they are decorative elements applied maybe in the 90s. They were applied both with nails and with glue. So when you go to remove them, you often make a hole that you have to repair with matte cream, which you then have to sand, which you then have to dry. All good, all doable, so if you have no alternative, do it. But today we can spare ourselves because these two clever ones, Emma and Franco, suggested flipping the panel, and yes, we will flip the panel because this door has a very beautiful molding. This is a well-made piece of furniture from a well-working furniture maker of the time, and it's easy for us if we remove all the trim and we flip this panel upside down. This way, Emma, we avoid a lot of sweat and effort in removing the decorations, filling with matteric cream, letting it dry and sanding. We will save 2 hours of work, so, Emma, show us how it's done while I continue stripping the paint.
With a spatula and a hammer, I very carefully remove all the molding. I need to free at least 3 of the 4 sides. I remove the old nails and add new ones later. Now I remove the panel, flip it around, put it back in carefully, and go to put back all the moldings using new nails. For convenience, I use a staple gun, but classic headless nails work just as well. Okay, as you can see now the panel is smooth. We can put all the decorations we want and the molded part remains inside.
I have finished with the heat gun, but there are still some impurities, which is normal. Some spots still have some glue. There is very little, so I quickly use my sander. I use it with 100 grit sandpaper, whether it's cloth-based, Velcro-based, or paper-based. But remember to use a 100 grit one, nothing coarser. Emma is applying the paper tape. We will only paint the outside of this cupboard. She is putting tape around the drawers and around the structure to ensure a clean job. It's time for color, and today I will be using the beautiful taffeta. It's a very soft, velvety, and highly covering taupe. You will be amazed at how much it covers. It's spectacular. I save the knobs as they are beautiful and perfect, but I will sand them and you'll see soon how they will turn out. They're perfect for this piece of furniture, so use a screwdriver for the inner part. This way we don't risk getting it dirty. We can also just retract it a little bit, put it back a little so that the screw hole doesn't get obstructed, and we just need to screw it back in to pull it out. This way I can paint our drawer properly without any problems. Today I am using a pointed brush, the number 2, and I also keep the Elizabeth brush nearby. This is the net to make it perfect after it has been washed. Brushes, even if they are used a lot, will last for years if they are washed and maintained well. So, for this part of the front panel and the furniture in general, I use a pointed brush. Whereas I paint the sides and the wider parts with the flat brush, so I won't have to put in any effort. Look how well it works in the grooves and the intersections. This brush is amazing. And taffeta is one of the most covering magic colors. Look how much it covers with just one coat. It's exceptional. Look, practically everything is covered with the first coat. We can't say anything. Nothing to say about this wonderful neutral color because it is indeed a neutral color that suits many homes without problems. Easy, it's an easy color to match and manage. Look, now I'm going over it again to remove any drops that have formed in the indentations on the sides. Look here. A single coat has definitely covered a lot. I am obviously going to paint the edge of the drawer as well. So I also paint the top part and the sides so that when the drawer is opened it looks nice, clean and tidy. Listen, Emma, shall we continue? Will you help me too? Let's go. If it were up to me, I wouldn't apply a second coat because it's really not necessary, but it has to be perfect, so I give it a light touch with pure taffeta. This way, I save and don't make marks on the surface, but as you can see, it's practically unnecessary. It's almost like a gentle touch just to slightly remove some brush strokes. I use very little color with a nearly dry brush, because this is truly a velvety application. In this can, I still have a bit of dark sand left, just a tiny amount, maybe half a centimeter. But it will be enough for me because I will dilute it a lot, 80, 90, 100%. It's a very abstract percentage. Look, I've practically doubled the quantity by adding water. I create this delicate and colored water with dark sand, which I will use to wash this wood. This morning, I could have started a different type of work on this flat surface. For example, I could have applied a lighter coat of color and then used the wood grain painting pad with dark sand like, I don't know, a base with clear sand, and the wood grain with dark sand or enjoy, and it would have been much easier for me to achieve the tone I am about to choose for this piece of furniture. Claudio gave me a photo where it is perfectly clear that he wants to achieve a wood tone very similar to the one I am about to reach. But we are stubborn, and when there is wood underneath, we want to bring it out. So, we are going to take advantage of the underlying tone. We are going to take advantage of the real wood that is there, because this piece of furniture is solid wood for the most part, and in some areas, I even saw some oak, so I want to make use of the surface. So if there is wood, we use wood. We will do the dark sand wash, then we'll see if it's good, if it's enough when protected, or if it will be necessary to add some grain in another way. But in my opinion, we will get there. So this will now be washed with dark sand. I will color the edge again with taffeta later to finish everything. You need to have a dry microfiber cloth and a damp microfiber cloth at hand. I have already prepared mine here. It's clean, and I have a small bucket of warm water. Wring it out really well because it still retains water, which we do not need at this moment. What I recommend is to work in long strips, as this is a very long, very wide surface. Do not work in small squares, because otherwise, in the end, you will notice the tone and the difference. Look how liquid it is. So let's remember that by using a nice, stubby brush, like the king I'm using, we are absolutely going to stain the surface quite a lot. It's very hot today, very, very hot, so if you need to create a wood grain like mine, using the washing technique on a hot day like this one, dilute this color by 150% and don't worry, because dries at the speed of light. You have two alternatives. If you want to make it lighter, remove the excess with a dry sponge. If you want to light it a bit less, you can remove the excess with a wet sponge. But you can also lighten it gradually, simply by using the brush. In this way, the wood will have time to absorb the very diluted color. We will be able to easily lighten it a bit more and without any rush. Let's see what happens by first using a dry cloth which removes a bit less. Always remember that the joint between the color and the wood is the part that needs to be treated first to prevent it from drying out. You can see that this last part, which was removed last, has whitened much more, precisely because it has dried more. Remember also that we always have a backup plan, so if after a few hours of washing we notice something we don't like or something goes wrong, we always have a reliable way to fix it. And we will see how. Now I will quickly continue by connecting the first part of the furniture to the second. I remove any drips on this part here, because I will apply the taffeta and I don't want to have ugly color residues on the shiny part. See? So even if you drip, don't worry. I have chosen the Satin Protective Paint to protect. I like it. It's a middle ground. Neither too matte nor too glossy. It matches well with the kitchen. So, since it's so hot, let's add a bit more water. Today, I need to deal with the raw wood, which you saw I stripped, and the paint. So, today I'll dilute it more. If it were winter, I would have stopped earlier with the water. I would have diluted it less. But today it is really too hot. I prepare both with the brush, which Emma will use, and with the roller, which I will use. I have to tell you the truth, I love all brushes, but since the new Magic Paint roller arrived, it's like a new addiction for me. And a piece of advice to definitely follow is this. When you use the paint roller, not for the first time, but it's essential on your second time and so on, and you have already cleaned it. Do this, stick tape well over its entire furry part, and then use pressure from that tape to make it softer. Voila! The roller is ready. This will help keep it softer and more absorbent, because this 4 mm long bristle has been specifically designed to be much smoother with Magic Paint, and therefore with our protectives. It leaves no marks, you work much less, you struggle much less, and on beautiful, clean, neutral surfaces that do not need to have texture, it's amazing. As you know, the color becomes more vibrant when we apply the protective paint, so you will see that both the lighter shade I'm working on, the dark sand wash, and the shade Emma is covering will become just a little more pronounced, a bit darker. And remember that the color becomes more vibrant, toned, and a bit darker, not by much, just more vibrant. Now we smooth the surface from the beginning to the end. This is one of the most important steps when using rollers and brushes on long surfaces. To avoid marks, you need to keep the roller and brush very light. You should not press and should do this way. Always remember one thing. Painting a wall has nothing to do with finishing furniture. Therefore, the technique on furniture must indeed be different, and sometimes it's even a bit more complex. Sometimes you press more, sometimes you press less. The important thing is to understand and know the product. When you know the product in detail, you know exactly how to use it, and therefore, you know how effective it is, how much to buy, and how to avoid wasting it. This must be a modern piece of furniture, and so far this theme has held up. I really like the top, so soon they will see it up close and will be truly amazed. We have already cut this piece of wallpaper because we want to decorate the central panels which, as you remember, had some moldings at the beginning. We have flipped them around and now we are decorating them with this wallpaper, which is very nice because it is also vinyl. This is even better for the kitchen because if something were to splash on this wall, which I don't think will happen because Claudio and his wife are extremely careful, but if it ever does, there is nothing dramatic about it. In fact, it can be easily washed. Do you have it? Show it to us nicely open. This paper is beautiful. I'm afraid it might run out, so if they want it, they should hurry. What's it called?
Fogliato beige. Code. It is 27,014.
Perfect. So remember that it will only be available for a short time because this catalogue will unfortunately run out. We glue it as always with the appropriate wallpaper glue, and here we have already prepared a bit of powder, about a teaspoon of powder dissolved in some water. Always remember that you need to prepare wallpaper glue a bit in advance, at least 15 to 20 minutes before you start applying it. This way they have time to become so nice and creamy. Look how beautiful, creamy, and perfect it is. Don't worry if, with the heat, it tends to take a little more or a little less time. Let's say that if you do it in winter, you will have certain timings, and in summer, different timings. So we don't worry even if we go a little bit more over, because firstly, we have applied the protective layer, and secondly, you know that wallpaper glue comes off and doesn't stain. So we go a little bit more to the outside to make sure we don't miss applying glue on the edge. And let's be generous, also because if there are bubbles, we can get rid of them, but above all, we want it to be glued really, really well. Perfect. It's setting very well and the surface is homogeneous. We also keep two spatulas nearby, one smaller and one larger, and we can start. I'm wearing the cloth glove just because it will help me to massage the paper, though it's very hot and my hands might sweat. This way, you can always be precise. So, can we come a bit closer to me? Are you all set, Emma?
Yes, I am.
Look, now with the help of a spatula, you can carefully and gently remove any bubbles that may be there, working slowly from right to left. But try not to press too hard, remember, otherwise you'll just squeeze out all the glue. So it is right to remove the air, but you should not be put too much strength in doing this. If you also have, like us, a piece of furniture that is so particular that it does not have a squared door, but has some small moldings, and therefore there might be that extra millimeter that needs to be finished later, always wait when the door is nice and dry, when the paper is nice and dry and well set. Do not use the cutter to cut it when the paper is still wet. Otherwise, even if the cutter is new and sharp, whatever, you risk making it a bit jagged, and you could ruin it. You see here, I will definitely have to remove 2 millimeters. But we will do it as soon as our glue has set and the paper is completely dry. Now, let's check again, Emma. I always wipe with my glove. For example, here I feel a small bubble and we make this bubble come out like this. Look, and the bubble is out. If there is a little bit more glue left on the edge, spread it very carefully and use it to make your paper stick even better to the edge, just like this. Have you seen any other bubbles, Emma? Okay, let's get this bubble out from this side. Voila, and voila. Applying wallpaper on a panel like this is very simple because you don't have to join the paper as if it were on a wall. So it's much easier because you don't have to join anything. Now we are about to put the paper on the small drawers as well, and then we will show them everything finished with the knobs. This makeover is also finished. What do you like the most about this piece of furniture?
The ensemble. We have made it modern.
I really like the top surface a lot. I wouldn't have said that stripping it would reveal such good wood. Yes, from the back you could see that there was a nice big piece of wood, but you know, when dealing with this furniture from the 90s where they used this very glossy protective coating, you never know what you'll find underneath. In fact, often we find woods that may have been affected by humidity, other times very light woods. However, this shade is very beautiful. So, it's not exactly the same as what Claudio told me, but I am sure that in the context of his home, it will look great. It will look great also with the wall. We can't show this furniture in its final place today since Claudio will pick it up next week and Franco has to go on holiday. So we must absolutely finish this video today, right? Yes. So, happy holidays to everyone. Relax, have fun. And the palm trees are a good omen for this hot summer, right? Anyway, jokes aside, as always, write to us in the comments if you like this tutorial, which is a bit more contemporary, where we teach you how to refresh and modernize beautiful, solid 90s furniture that will look great in your home. Bye-bye. See you at the next makeover.